What is going on, YouTube? This is Jam back with another video here to walk you guys through the Resident Evil 8 Village demo, which is available right now on PlayStation, both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I've got some thoughts on the demo, even though I only got to spend 30 minutes with it, and I will talk about that as well. But before I get into today's demo, I would love for you guys to subscribe. Now, Resident Evil 8 Village is upon us. A lot of us on the PlayStation Nation already got to spend some time going through the previous demo. They have added a couple new ones. They're calling it 8 hours in Village because these demos only pop up for 8 hours. Unfortunately, you only get to play them for 30 total minutes. So whether you start at the beginning of the 8 hours or right at the end, you got 30 minutes with the game, after which time the game does not work anymore. And if you try to replay it, you are taken to a timer that counts down to the next playable section. 1 week is focused on the village, which is what you are seeing here. The next week is focused on the castle, which I will have a video on that as well. In between, you just gotta wait. I'm not a big fan of the way they do this. I wish they would just give you a small area of the game to explore, just like they did before. That way I could do a little bit more testing on the various modes on the PlayStation 5, which is what I'm planning on here, to compare and contrast the various visual modes that they have, ray tracing on or ray tracing off, to see if the frame rate looks better, to see how much pop in there is, to try 3D audio, to not try 3D audio. All these wonderful things I can't really test because I only have 30 minutes and it's just not enough time. I mean, on top of that, I need to, kind of figure out what I'm doing, walk around, see enough that I kind of get a good idea of what the game is trying to show and package it all up. So you're going to be seeing some jump cuts here. I'm obviously not showing all 30 minutes. I'm just going to show you a couple of major highlights of areas that I found interesting. I was walking back and forth there because I noticed a pop-up on the statue. So I had to go check it out, which, again, with this limited time, all you're thinking about is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I actually set my cell phone timer next to me so I would remember how long I had left, because I wanted to just see everything and get lost in the world, but I didn't allow myself to do that. Now, from the little bit I have seen, this game feels much more open world than Resident Evil Biohazard did. And that's not to say I did not love Resident Evil Biohazard. I was absolutely in love with that game. As a matter of fact, I bought the Ultimate DLC edition. I had all the DLCs with it. I played all of them. I love that game to pieces. This game seems to continue on that kind of open world area, mini open world. There's a lot to see and do. It seems like a lot of optional houses that you can explore to find additional treasures, and it seems like there will be a lot of Metroidvania type puzzling, which is very, synonymous with the Resident Evil series, but you're definitely going to see it here as well. I ran into so many things that I just felt like, oh, if I had this item, I could come back later and, interact with this or open this door or do something. Now, unfortunately, due to time constraints, I didn't get to do any of that doubling back, which was really kind of frustrating. But that's okay. I got enough of it. I feel like I know what it's about. This game seems to be very heavily focused on combat, which is something that I really do like. From the little bit I think we have all gathered via the trailers and via all of the teasers and promotional material, even the box art, honestly, it's very safe to say that werewolves versus vampires will play a very big role in this game. You reprise your role once again as Ethan Winters, the hero of Resident Evil VII Biohazard. He is now looking for his daughter. So you're going to be exploring this creepy, old, scary town as you kind of work your way through and figure out what the secrets of this whole place are. And I'm sure it's going to be a wild and wacky story, just like all the other Resident Evil games are. And it's going to have tons of jump scares. And I'm really excited for the promise of all of that. Interestingly enough, in this game, it does seem to take more of an emphasis on combat. I noticed that I was able to barricade certain things. I was able to craft bullets and ammunition, not even bullets and ammunition. I was able to craft ammunition and first aid kits. There we go. Much easier. Now, I get it. It's the demo. They kind of want to make sure you don't die at the beginning, which I will here in a second. because the enemies seem to come a little more aggressive than I'm used to. But that emphasis on combat, I'm perfectly okay with. Where I struggle personally, and I have had this issue on every single Resident Evil game since the beginning of time, I do not like the way it handles on console. And while this game looks beautiful on my PlayStation 5, and just for reference, I am playing it with ray tracing disabled, which should give a crisp 60 frame per second 4K experience. And it looks wonderful. It really does. I would say if you see any visual distractions or any blemishes, this was lifted off of Twitch, number one. And number two, this game was calibrated to my HDR television. So the lighting may not be identical on your experience, but let me tell you, the brights were incredibly bright. The darks were pitch black. The lighting effects popped. Everything looked phenomenal, especially later on when you're in the fire area of the last kind of portion of the map, which you'll see here in about, 5 minutes or so. Anyways, I've never been a big fan of the combat because I feel like the movement on the analog sticks is not very linear. Now, they did a good job of allowing you to customize your traditional, sensitivity and also your movement acceleration. Think in terms of like a mouse acceleration, which is really handy. Unfortunately, to me, it always feels really jerky. Even on the lowest possible setting, it felt very jerky to me, and I had a very hard time shooting at something which I shouldn't have had a hard time shooting at. Now, this may just be me. I'm not really sure, but I felt like with this particular guy, which you're going to see, I'm going to get absolutely eviscerated here. Despite the fact I shoot 20 rounds into him with a shotgun and then I pull out a knife, it seems like I just can't focus on the enemy as well as I should. And I know, as you should well know by now with all zombie games, headshots are really where your money is. And I run out of ammo because I just can't seem to get those really good headshots, which was pretty frustrating. Now, I like the tension in this combat. I like that you're fighting in this cornfield or this, maybe it's not corn, this maze of whatever it is. I like that. It's kind of hard to see the enemies coming at you. As a matter of fact, they do a really good job of framing this, that you hear the enemies long before you see them. You can hear them skirling and moaning and groaning and growling in the distance. And it isn't until they kind of just all lunge at you at once does it really pick up the action. I love that. You don't have any crazy over-the-top sound effects. You do have crazy sound effects. You don't have any crazy over-the-top music in the background to distract you from the experience. Everything just felt very natural and almost Dark Souls-like. I really like that. And in traditional Resident Evil fashion, we immediately go from this very intense combat scene to a very horror-filled scene where this guy basically turns right in front of you and basically murders this small group of people and goes nuts. He's climbing on the wall. He seems to be, practically immortal at this point. You're shooting like shotgun shots into him. He's still coming at you. He's just lit, This guy just can't be stopped. And it really provides a lot of tension. And it really just makes you feel like you are helpless in that moment. And I think good survival horror games really know how to do that well. And I feel like Resident Evil has really perfected this craft. These scenes carry a lot of levity to them. They feel very intense. The music does surge up on these cutscenes, unlike in the standard combat, in those moment-to-moment jump scares. These are very heavily scripted events, obviously, you're just watching. But they do a really good job of that. And I appreciate that. And then, immediately you cut back into gameplay. It's very seamless. It makes logical sense of where you need to go and what you need to do. It has a spooky kind of vibe to it, as this building is now on fire and you have to kind of rummage for supplies and figure out what to do. But that's not to say there isn't corniness in here. And I'm not really sure what the thought process here was, but basically you're in a house where half of it has caught on fire and the fire is slowly spreading. There's a big scary monster man on the other side of the locked door. So for the most part, you're safe in this area. Instead of looking for another way out, just like walking out the door or whatever, your character decides the most logical thing to do is to take a truck and to drive it through a wall. I don't know why. You couldn't just go out another door. It's not like you're trapped in an interior closet of a house or something like that. It's very, very odd design, but that was the design approach that I guess they felt you needed to take. Yes, it does create some tension, and you'll see that play through here as you're kind of, rummaging through here, trying to find supplies to, figure out how to get this truck moving, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense. And I guess it's that nuttiness that I just love about this series. It has always had this kind of quirky charm to it. And I mean, it goes back to the very first Resident Evil, with Jill, the master of lockpicking, and just all this bizarre, like, weird, like, no one talks like that. No one acts like that. I would think your first thought to get out of this place would not be, hey, let's drive a truck like a battering ram into a wall. But there you go. This game also does bring back the ability to examine items, which it's really, really cool. And you also see the items interact with the environment in real time, which is nice. So bolt cutters you would see them, close on the chain and the chain would fall off. You would see, like in this case, you would see the screwdriver, go into something to open it. You'll see that in a minute, or the truck key go into the ignition or whatever it happens to be. And it does, it's weird that to say like it brings the world to life, but the reality is, prior to Resident Evil 7, you really didn't see that very much. The gameplay just did a lot of these really kind of, not very nice jump cuts, and it just kind of suffered from that. I feel like they've done a good job here. Unfortunately, and you may have already saw this in the rear view mirror, still haven't figured out good reflections in these games. Unfortunately, I guess that's just a byproduct. It's just this very kind of blurry, washed out image, which kind of sort of looks like a reflection, but kind of does take you out of the scene when you think of how ultra realistic the sound effects are, and the fire flickering is, and the smoke effects and the lighting and everything as it comes together. And keep in mind, this is with ray tracing off. I can only imagine how much better this is going to look on PC, or maybe on PlayStation if you're willing to forego the frame rate, of how these fire effects are gonna light up the hood of the truck, are gonna light out your character's hair and hands and the effects around you. That'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. As I wrap up this demo, you'll see at the end, as I mentioned, you do get that. Basically, it says, thanks for playing. Your 30 minutes are up and you're done. You can't do anything else. It just pushes you back to a pre-order screen with a timer for the next days to count off. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of that, but hey, I will take any little bit of this game that I can get. I'm already sold, though. I mean, I'm a day one for this. I've been very, very excited for this game for a really long time. I think really falling in love with Resident Evil 7 with all of that DLC really, really brought me full back into this whole thing. I went back and played Resident Evil 2 Remastered and Resident Evil 3 Remastered, and I'm ready for more of this. And I think it comes out at a good time because there's not a lot going on. I know we got Ratchet and Clank coming up and then this, but really it's going to be a quiet couple months. So great for Capcom to be able to capitalize on that. Last little bit of this demo as we wrap up. I want to say that the sound, as I did not get to check the 3D sound, but I will say the sound effects, just normal, using my Bose soundbar, were incredible. Really, really crisp, really vibrant. I think that's one of the great things about the RE engine, which just really makes it feel more alive. The crackling of the fire, the footsteps, everything has been really punctuated and vibrant. And something I talk about in some of my other videos, and if you haven't had a chance to check out my Astro playlist, well, technically it's audio playlist, but I'm an Astro guy, so most of my stuff's about Astro. Or my thoughts on the Halo Infinite sound engine, or just looking at sound engine and sound design from a much more critical perspective. Resident Evil nails it so much better than a lot of other games. And I feel like that sound engine and the way that the whole world comes alive around you really brings you back into the immersion in a way that just doesn't exist. And when you put these phenomenal graphics on top of it, it's just a really solid package. So if you are really sleeping on this game and you don't think it's going to be interesting, or you haven't really played Resident Evil in a while, I implore you guys to at least go check the trailer. Maybe my demo will give you guys some thoughts on trying it again. Even if survival horror isn't your jam, I really think that this game is going to be something special, just based on the little bit I've played now and some of the trailers and stuff that I've seen. So that's my love letter and thoughts to Resident Evil as we finish up. I think the demo has another maybe 30 seconds left here, which is unfortunate because it seems to get really, really good right here. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Sound off. Let me know if you got to play it. I'm sure you got farther than me because you probably didn't die like 4 times on those couple zombies. And I did spend a lot of time walking back and forth, checking some pop in and that sort of thing. But as I started to really invest in the game and, grabbing these medallions, getting ready to go into the castle only for the time to stop, I was like, oh, I really want to get into it. So leave some comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and some commentary. Hope it brought some light to, what's going on with this game and everything like that. That's it for me. Hope you guys have a great week. Take care of yourselves. I appreciate you guys. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.